Hi. Oh, we're gonna do video. Look at you. You're such a professional. I'm embarrassed. You
Not
are
even. Hi.
Hi. You're the first podcaster I've ever had on here, so I feel very exposed and look, I just started it less than a week ago, so you can't judge me too harshly, okay?
Dude, not even. You're like so much more ahead of me. You have like your little sheet and you have your like hold music and like,
Did you
yeah.
like the hold music?
It was so good, except that I got on way too early. So I was here
Oh,
for
it
like
was on
5 minutes.
repeat.
Like it was on repeat. I was like, oh, I can stop it. I was like, I'm really pumped up. But if I have, I was like, you have
I
a
know.
very
I'm
sexy
sorry.
voice.
Your Speaking of sexy voices, your podcast.
Thanks.
You were made. Normally, you say this to someone who's really unattractive, which you're not. You're damn beautiful. You have a beautiful smile, but your voice was made for radio. I mean,
Thanks.
listening to you talk on your podcast, it's very calming and alluring. So, can we start off talking a little bit about your podcast?
Yeah. So my podcast is called Faith and Other F Words. Are you allowed to cuss on your podcast?
Fuck yes.
Fuck yes. Okay, great. So,
So let's introduce you. Who are you? How do we know each other?
okay. So my name is Tanya, but you and I know each other from Chapman and sorority life and Greek life, and then just kind of connecting post college mostly through Instagram and just vibing out and enjoying each other's energy. I would say I've always loved how authentic you are to you. Um, and yeah, so that's me in a nutshell, I guess.
I don't know. How do you feel about social media? I love that it connects me with so many people. That's my favorite thing about it. Like, if it wasn't for social media, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. I love people and I love connecting, and it's just, I'm such an extrovert. This quarantine has taught me that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think everyone knew that already, but I kind of thought I might be an introvert for my own personal reasons. And I'm like, no, 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 definitely an introvert. Definitely need people around me all the time. But how do you deal with it in terms of like if I felt like I could, I think I wanted to delete it permanently.
Yeah.
That's
So
where I'm at.
if you were to find me on Instagram, it's Tata Conquers. You would probably think that I love social media and I like love sharing my life and blah 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 blah. But before starting an online business, I would take pictures of sunsets and like my food occasionally and didn't really give a shit about social media. I'm not one for status or easily influenced by somebody's popularity. Like I don't give a shit if you have 20,000 or 3 followers. I don't really care. Now that I have an online business, I see it as a way of serving. So if I can share my story, if I can inspire somebody, then it's worth it to be vulnerable, to be doing those posts. But I do also take time to unplug. So if you are having dinner with me or if I'm hanging out with my boyfriend, I'm not on my phone. And if I have to be on my phone, I'm very intentional to say, hold on, let me finish this, and then I'll give you my full attention.
I love saying that too. I try to say that, especially with text messages. I'm like, I can't right now, but let me give this the full attention it deserves. You've definitely heard me say that. Do you think, I mean, again, my favorite part about connecting with my favorite part, we're going to cut that out for real. Rewind. My favorite part about social media is the connectivity and the community building. You've done an amazing job with that, especially with like your business and being so open and authentic. And I have to say, like, there's been several things. I can't say this about a lot of people. There have been several things that you've shared that I definitely related to. And I thought to myself, I would never share that. And
Mm,
I don't say that in a judgmental way. I say
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
people would think that I'm very open and that
yeah.
they think because I'm so loud and I talk a lot that I'm saying a lot, but really I'm not as open as or transparent as people probably give me credit for.
Mm,
And several times I love that you talk about money because that's something I'm trying to get more comfortable speaking about publicly.
yeah.
Still working on it, not quite there, but still working on it. I love that you talk about weight and recently you posted something about the weight gain that you've experienced in the quarantine, and I can get emotional. I'm like waiting for the podcast
Uh,
I'm waiting for the podcast that makes me cry.
let's
This
do
will
it.
not be the podcast. This will
Let's
not
do
be the
it.
podcast I cry. No, I'm not going to cry on this one, but I read your post and I understood it completely. And what made me so emotional was I was reading it thinking, I I don't ever see myself being this confident or loving my body or myself enough to ever say publicly, yes, I will talk about my weight loss all fucking day long. My struggle with my acceptance of my body and myself and my physical appearance, it's still a battle. I've made a lot of headway. Someone like me looks at that and goes, I still have work to do because I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
I'm not anywhere close to being there yet. And that's what I love about the community that you've built. And I think it's a beautiful thing and it's empowering. And I can tell you, like, you definitely have empowered me in a lot of ways.
No,
Again, I'm
you're
being
gonna make me
serious.
cry.
No, stop. Oh God, please don't. I'll have to hang up and end this whole thing.
We have such a problem with vulnerability because we feel like someone's going to reject us. But in reality, if I look back at all of the times in my life where I've been vulnerable and truly vulnerable, I've never had another human being shut the door in my face, like at a retreat or publicly, just anywhere. Humans have always responded really kindly to authentic and true vulnerability. Yeah, there may be instances in life where your vulnerability isn't rewarded, but usually that's in a really like intimate relationship where, it's, the dynamics of the relationship are different. But I think in a general public setting, when you're vulnerable, people respond well to that. So, nobody from high school that I can give you a great story about, but I can tell you about some really interesting things in high school if you want to ask about those.
I am super obsessed with high school. I've been obsessed with high school since I was 4 years old and watched Grease for the first time. Because it was like this world where you could go to school and, like, we've seen how many freaking I mean, Mean
Yeah.
Girls, like, there's just so
American
many
Pie.
movies. Yeah, there's just so many high school movies coming of age, and it's because it's a really fun, crazy time where
Yeah.
you're kind of in this crux between being an adult and having adult feelings and desires, but then you're also still a child, so you're kind of confined and you kind of reel it in. But I didn't get the typical high school experience. I went to an all girls Catholic school.
Yeah.
And I always say that, like, it was more like a sorority than being an actual sorority because it really was pillow fights and braiding your hair.
Yeah.
I'm just so fascinated by, like, high school years because I think that, I don't know, I'm just so fascinated by it. And Chapman felt like a high school experience to me because it was co ed.
Yeah.
It was very immature. It was still pretty damn small. I mean, it's the same size as Esperanza in Yorba Linda. So I feel like I got it kind of, but what was your high school experience like?
So mine was similar to yours in that I went to Catholic school, except that I went to a co-ed school. I went to, so I don't know if I should tell you guys, but whatever.
If you
I
liked
went
it
to,
or you didn't, did you like it or not?
I loved it. Loved it. I went to Bishop Montgomery High School in Torrance.
You went to Bishop.
I
Oh
did, yeah.
my
Woot
gosh.
woot.
Okay. Yay.
Yeah, and I loved it. But I think you asked me about topics for today's podcast, and you had asked about people who were popular in high school. So I have to admit that I was popular, but I think it leaned more towards like Mean Girls style. We had a name. We were called the Bobs, as in the bitches of Bishop. Uh, but we didn't coin ourselves that. Somebody else who was older than us was like, "Oh my god, you guys are like the bitches of Bishop." And then we used it and like coined it, and like we were obnoxious and we made stickers and we had like matching stickers on our car. Oh my god, yeah, it was so bad. Um
I'm so embarrassed for you.
yeah, yeah. And we would wear matching uniforms on Wednesdays because of like Mean Girls. We would like do that. But it was weird because it wasn't like the Mean Girl stereotypes. She's like dumb, pretty, and fake boobs. We were straight A students with extracurricular activities, played varsity sports, and had jobs on the side, and partied on the weekends.
The Bob's thing so I don't consider myself. I don't know. I guess I would need feedback. I my high school was too small. I wouldn't have considered myself popular. Like, I didn't have my first kiss till senior year, and it was with a friend.
I
Guys
mean,
didn't like
what
me.
do you consider popular?
I guess that's my thing because, like, my group had a name too. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
say it. I'm too embarrassed.
Oh, come on.
Because if I said it, then I'd have to explain. Okay, fine. Our group was called Seek.
Okay.
like seek and you shall find.
Okay.
And it was really just the initials of the girls in the group. And obviously, I was one of the E's, right? So we did have that. We did show up to a dance wearing Sikh stuff. We did not have stickers,
Stickers.
but we really weren't mean. We were not mean girls. We didn't really have drama. I was the girl, like kind of the fly on the wall that like listened to all the drama, but I was never in it because guys didn't look at me, guys didn't like me. I wouldn't have considered myself popular by any means. Like I didn't have the best grades. I wasn't an athlete. I did a club sport, you know, in my private time.
Yeah.
So I'm always fascinated by people who are popular because I'm like, what does that feel like? What does that like? What is that like, you know? But I will say, like, my best friend Sophia, she was popular. I probably rode her coattails a little bit. Like I was like her sidekick. But again, she wasn't like mean girl popular. She wasn't mean. She didn't start drama like you girls. Are you girls still friends? Because I'm still best friends with all my friends from high school.
We are, and I think having the little clicky name, like to me, it was like a mini sorority, right? Like in college, it's the same shit. You all have matching colors and matching letters, and you have functions that you throw. Like it was the exact same thing, except in high school.
What else did we say we're going to talk about? I'm the worst podcast host ever. Okay,
What else?
so look at the 6 people listening are just gonna have to deal with the fact I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Okay, so
That's the fun of this, though.
I know, yeah, it's just about connecting and having like shared experiences or different experiences, painting a new light on a similar situation.
Yeah.
Um,
So basically, yes, I was popular in high school, but I wasn't me. And I swear to God, I was nice. And then switching over to mercury poisoning, the way that I got started in my own health and fitness journey was that um, basically all throughout high school, if you want to tie it in, throughout high school and college, I suffered with really bad eczema and chronic fatigue. I didn't know I had mercury poisoning. I went to UCLA Medical. I went to every possible dermatologist, and they looked at my eczema and that they said, you just have dermatitis or you have allergies. Being the Thania that I am, I was like, all right, well, fuck you, modern medicine. I'm going to go find my own holistic solutions to this. So I ended up finding a doctor of osteopathy who did metal and some other allergy exams on me. And it turned out that I had 5 times the amount of mercury that a normal human should have. So if I show you my test results have the mercury bar like literally going off of the chart on the little test results. That's how bad it was. So I was scratching really poor, like scratching nonstop at night to the point that I had like scabs all over my body. My ex-boyfriend at the time, he thought I was a burn victim because my eczema was so bad and I had such weird like patches of skin that were like discolored and odd. Um, and I had brain fog. I felt depressed, but because I'm such an optimistic and like positive person, I didn't see it as like clinical depression. I just saw it as like, oh, maybe I'm having trouble adjusting to my freshman year of college, or maybe I'm just stressed, or maybe I'm, you know, I'm just I've got too much on my plate. I'm working, I'm at school, I'm in sorority, I have all these things happening. And it turned out that it was actually mercury toxicity, and it was a result of amalgam fillings in my mouth. And if you have poor fillings that are made of amalgam that are silver, they can seep into your bloodstream. If you have that chronic exposure for so many years, then it stays in your organs. As soon as I went through the process of removing amalgam in my mouth, I had to do a process called chelation, which is, it's called DMPS, which is a chelating agent, which essentially breaks down heavy metals in your body through urine and like secretion of like, you know, just sweating it out. By my 3rd visit, I was like, holy, this is what it feels like to be healthy. Like I can wake up at a normal hour. I'm not sleeping 12 to 16 hours a day. I don't have headaches. I don't have stomach issues. Like, yeah, that's the like short story of mercury toxicity.
who removed the how do you say it? The fillings?
Amalgam fillings.
Amalgam? Okay.
Yeah, I went to a dentist that was like specialized in the removal of amalgam.
Wow. Wow. My gosh. That's like it's just one of those things that you don't realize. Like, it's an example of us putting something on our body, and we just so mindlessly just say, "Okay, yeah, put that in my
Yeah.
body," and not knowing. And then the toxicity. I mean, I've had a fear of mercury specifically. I don't know. Oh, I know exactly why. I know exactly why. No, it's a sad story. It's a tragedy that
Oh,
happened.
no.
Um, it stuck with me. I'll share it. It's stuck with me my whole life, and it's the root of my mercury fear. So when I was little, my dad came home. He was really distraught. My dad was a police officer, and there was some crime scene. I don't know what it was, but one of the police officers stepped in mercury, came home,
Oh,
left his boots at the front door, but his child, who was learning to crawl at the time,
no.
somehow, I mean, that somehow traces of the mercury from the crime scene, because he didn't thoroughly clean his boots, the child somehow
Ingested.
consumed it, yeah, and passed away. And that was just tragic.
Yeah.
And so my dad became psychotic at that point because of that story with us, because he was just like, okay, everything needs to be clean, like can't bring anything home. It sounds
Yeah.
very similar to what's going on right now. I mean, he was
Yeah.
just like so thorough about things. And like, I remember I was probably 7 or 8 years old when that happened, and like that story really stuck with me. And then I got really curious about mercury. So I had encyclopedias. I had a whole encyclopedia set growing up, and like I would use it for everything I was curious about. And so as I looked into the mercury, I know that it's Hg, right, in the chemical periodic table. Chemistry major over here, no big
Yeah.
deal. And then I'm like, okay, it's in thermometers. Like,
Yeah.
okay, like you can't break a thermometer. If a thermometer breaks in a lab, like you got to be really careful. And it's really pretty, by the way. Mercury's really pretty. And then
Yeah.
I had an etch a sketch, which also had mercury in it, and like sushi, fish, like mercury. So I kind of have this like fascination slash fear of mercury, because I feel like I've heard about it a lot, and to know that you had mercury poisoning is very, it's just wow, it's crazy to me that you got it. I really just assume, I would have assumed that you got it from some type of food consumption, and to know that you were unintentionally poisoning yourself every day, or being poisoned every day
Yeah.
with something that's in your mouth, is just
Yeah.
so crazy. It's such a testament to like how openly we give our bodies over to medical professionals to
Totally.
fix us, and they can unintentionally.
I should clarify that it was amalgam fillings was like the main cause, and then the other part of that, so it was like a compound of things. I was also eating sushi very frequently and had been my entire life. So the combination of those two together definitely added to the chronic accumulation of that much mercury in my body.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's so crazy. um well, I don't know what else to talk about. I'm the worst podcaster ever.
You're not the
i feel
worst.
i feel so nervous because you're such a professional.
I'm not a professional at all, but I can tell you some tips for stuff that
Oh
I've
my
done
gosh,
that works.
please help me. Please give it to me.
So whenever I have guests, I've structured it so that the guests always answer the same set of questions. So that's like the format to get to know them.
Okay, I like that. I need to adapt that to some extent. I was so afraid of being too structured because I don't want anyone to feel like they have to talk about whatever the topic is at hand. I just believe that like humans are so unpredictable. You never know what
Yeah.
to do. That's why I reached out to you, just to make sure like, hey, is your day going well? This is not a pressured situation. This is just a phone call. So like if you're having a bad day and you don't want to be chipper for some silly little podcast, like don't, that's why I want to check in on people and
You're so
and
sweet.
kind of let it going.
Have you taken the Enneagram yet?
What's that?
Oh my God, you haven't taken the Enneagram test?
What is that? Never even heard of it.
Oh my God. Okay. It's I recommend going to the Enneagram Institute. You pay $12, you take their test, and then they give you like a full-blown PDF with your results and potential types that you could be. So there's 9 types, and it takes into account where you go in terms of health and where you go in terms of stress. And the way that your type is determined is by what motivates you or what you're fearful of. So I'm an Enneagram type 8. My fear, or type 8's fear, is to have a lack of control or a lack of power, because you don't trust that other people will yield that power. But it's crazy. Like when you read it after you get your type, it feels like you're naked. Like, you feel like this little PDF fucking knows you and you are naked in front of it. And you're just like, get out of my head. This is really rude and really embarrassing. How do you know this? You don't even know me.
Okay, enneagram. That's spelled
Yeah.
Ennea gram.
Yep.
I just took a personality test and had my assessment with my HR at work.
Hmm.
Um, it was a disc assessment, and it was great. I've taken so many personality tests,
Yeah. Same.
and I'm a Slytherin, by the way. What house are you in?
I don't know. I'm not a Harry Potter girl.
But you knew what Slytherin meant Harry Potter because I didn't even know that. Okay, but I had to take
Because
the test for some party.
I had read the books, and then when they made the movies, I got mad because they just didn't follow the descriptions in the books, and then everybody got into Harry Potter, and it became this like thing, and I wasn't into the trends of things.
I feel like there's just all these little trends, and I'm like, okay, I just want to catch up on that. I wasn't allowed to read Harry Potter as a kid or watch Harry Potter because my dad was
Oh,
super anti witchcraft.
yeah, I got
So
that talk too.
part of me wants to, like, I'm like, gotta make up for lost time. But so that's a personality quiz I took a couple years ago. But this disc assessment, like you said, it was different than the other personality quizzes I'd taken. And what I found myself thinking for the first time ever in a personality quiz was not thinking, oh, how do I feel about myself? What I found myself thinking is, how would my boss answer this if she was taking it on my behalf? Like, I know how
Oh,
I think I would react to the situation, but how would she answer on my behalf of what she would predict I would, and maybe I'd get more of an assessment. So my new
huh.
kick right now is I want to do, narcissistic as I am, I almost
Hmm.
want to give a personality quiz to my friends and be like, take this on my behalf and tell me what you think. What is your perception of me? Because I sometimes feel like maybe how I would take the test and how someone else might, who works with me or knows me
Yeah.
intimately, might, the results might be different.
I think you're going to love the Enneagram, because when you take the Enneagram, it's going to apply to all facets of your life. So not who do you show up as at work and who do you show up as a girlfriend, but more so who do you show up consistently as, and what determines your motivations and your fears as Ella the human, not necessarily you at work or you as a girlfriend or you as a daughter.
Mhm.
But like, no matter what, in every situation you show up like this because you're constantly motivated by X.
Yeah, I can't wait. I'll report back to you. I'll let you know. I'll take the test for sure.
I'm gonna take a
Um,
guess that I think you're either gonna be a 4, a 7, or maybe even a 5.
what is your Myers Briggs breakdown?
I am a ENFJ.
Oh, I'm an ENTJ. I'm a CEO.
Mhm. I don't know what mine is. It's just like a
I know. I feel like people
eh.
think Myers Briggs is outdated, which is hilarious because all the personality quizzes are still based upon Carl Jung's psychological work from the 1950s. So every personality test is essentially uses his work, but it's
Well,
all
it's
different
interesting because
derivatives.
Enneagram's a little different, because I show up as EN, right? Like extrovert, but I'm actually not an extrovert. I'm an outgoing introvert. I don't really like people, but I happen to like my people.
Okay, all right. I thought I was an introvert. I thought I was an outgoing introvert before this quarantine, and people would laugh and be like, "Ah, you're clearly an extrovert." But I actually really did think I was a outgoing introvert because when I go on like vacations with anybody, I need
Yeah.
alone time. I
Oh,
need.
same.
I wake up in the morning. I have to have my coffee on my own. I got to go on a run
Yeah.
by myself or a walk, or I got to do a dinner by myself. And that's where I was like, see, that's where I get my energy. So yes, I'm outgoing, but
Oh,
this
yeah.
fucking lockdown, man, like my psyche really struggled the first like 4 weeks because I realized that, I go to a grocery store and I smile at someone and they wouldn't
Yeah.
smile back. Now
Yeah.
everyone's wearing masks. You can't even tell if they're smiling at you.
I think you might be a 2 based off of what you're saying.
Oh God, a helper. Fuck.
There's nothing wrong with being a helper.
No, I reject being a helper. I reject that. I am struggling. You're the podcaster. You've been podcasting for what, a year, 2 years now?
A year now. It was a year
Yeah.
in April.
Yeah. So how do I end podcasts? Because I can't figure that out.
Usually what I do is I normally ask them if there's anything they want to recap, like
Oh my gosh.
re-summarize or anything.
So random that I'm asking you this question right now. But is there anything you want to recap?
Let's see. That's a great question, Ella. I think the thing that I would want people to learn most about this podcast is one, to just love your body at any shape and size, and that you are worthy of everything that has ever been put in your path. And the second thing would be to be an advocate of your own health. Just because one doctor tells you have a disease or that your symptoms aren't real, that doesn't mean that that doctor has the utmost authority on your health or illness in general. And I would encourage you to be an advocate of your health and to trust your gut when it comes to your own body, and to not necessarily always trust modern medicine as the number one solution for your wellness. And that's pretty much it. I think those two things would probably be the most important.
For the solid 7 people listening to this, where can they find you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram. It's Tata Conquers. That's TATACONQUERS. And then you can listen to my podcast on Spotify or iTunes. That's Faith and Other F Words.
Woo! Oh my
Yay!
gosh. I did most of the talking on this one, Tanya. I
That's
really got
okay.
to reel it in. I really got to reel it in. But
I'm a
luckily,
really
I just
good listener.
chop it up, chop it up. No, you kept having to say, so can I talk now?
No, that's not what I meant.
Can I talk now? Or are you done? Oh, okay. Keep going, Ella. It's your fucking show. Well,
Well,
kudos to us because we're going to be doing your show soon. And then I'm really going to have to shut the fuck up.
no, then I get to ask you all the questions and then you get to do all the talking. It's perfect.
I do all the talking on my show and all the talking on yours. Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, I'm excited. We're gonna talk about I'm just gonna say this and we'll see if there's any feedback to this. I really want to stay away talking about relationships on this podcast, and the reason being is like I can talk about them all day long. And yet I just feel like the podcast is veering in that direction. Mine.
Yeah.
Like I can't fucking fight it, right? It's like, here we go. What did
I
I
mean,
talk about when I was in a relationship? I don't remember. But yeah, so I'm excited. So for people who want to know, I'm going to give all the details about all the juicy details. People have been asking. I've never really talked about it publicly. I'm going to give all the juicy details of calling off my engagement.
yes.
So go to Tanya's podcast, Faith and Other
Yeah.
Efforts, to listen to that because at this point I couldn't give 2 fucks less about the
Yeah.
situation.
Can't
So we
wait.
talk about relationships on yours. We talk about health and body on mine.
Right.
Somehow relationships always come up. I can't help it. I'm trying really hard not to date this year. That's my thing. Like I'm just like I need to just like not, but then I'm just over here like doing a podcast obsessing over boys instead of actually dating them. So here we are.
You should listen to my podcast number 5, I think, about
Which
dating.
one?
Dating in your 20s and 30s.
Girl, 20s
Yeah.
are over. No, my ovaries.
Your 20s and
I look at
30s.
my fucking ovaries, okay?
Listen,
now, dating in
it's
your 20s is like, okay, let's have fun. Dating in your
no,
30s is like, are you gonna impregnate me or not? Because what are we doing here?
you're gonna love the next episode. It's with a girl who was in your exact same position, and she got married to like the love of her life within like 6 months. It happened super quick. And she has a personality very similar to you, where she's like really direct, and she literally asked her now husband on their first date what his life insurance policy was.
Oh, that sounds like me for sure. For sure. Well, when she's
And
done with him, send him my way because he
yeah,
might be
and
the only one who could put up with it.
don't give up. Don't take time off. Just be more intentional about
I've been so intentional.
it.
I've prayed a lot and I was just like, okay, God, like if you're not like that's my thing. God, if you ain't gonna give it to me, I'm 30. I've been wanting it my whole life. If you're not gonna give it to me, then take it back. Take it off my heart because I'm
No,
sick of it.
It's like a job, you know? Like when you go to apply for a new job, you send your resume to a lot of freaking places and eventually you get a couple of interviews and eventually you get a job that you love.
No, I have to be honest. For me, with my career, it's if I want a new job, someone says, "Hey, we like you. Come over here," and I go, "Okay." So
So
no,
you've had
that's
it
not.
easy. So
I
you've
haven't
had
had
it
it easy. I
easy.
haven't had it easy. I've worked my ass off to where people see the talent and go, "We want that." And I just don't understand why I can't have a husband do the same thing. Like I see that
Mm.
from afar, and I'm going to poach it. I'm going to recruit it. No, I'm at the point of like, let's have like, hey, like, a job opens up, and you're like, oh, Ella would be good for this. Let me
So
talk to
you
her and see if
you
she's
wanna
open.
be matched up.
I want to be matched up, or I
Okay,
want to be
that's fine.
recruited. I
So
don't.
now
I don't
you're
want to send
now
resumes
you're putting it out to the universe to all 7 and
of
8
my podcast.
listeners.
No,
Yeah,
yeah,
plus
you
me now.
assholes need to find me someone because I'm literally over it. Send me their resume, send me their LinkedIn profile. I'm not
Okay.
doing this bullshit friend thing either. Send me their LinkedIn profile, and I'll have my friends, come through.
But
But
what
I'm
if their
done.
LinkedIn isn't good? Because I know a lot of good dudes who have shitty LinkedIn profiles.
Well, if they really want it, if they want this,
Oh my
if they
god.
want this job, you could bet they spruce up that LinkedIn real quick because it doesn't take that much work to do a LinkedIn profile. Okay.
Oh god.
No, I don't know. I need to figure it out. I obviously want it. All I do is talk about it, but I'm trying really hard to ignore those strong thumps in my uterus, reminding me every month that another one's bit in the dust.
In due time, everything happens in due time.
You're so cute and in love. I'm happy for you. Great. Well, I'm gonna go listen to your podcast, which is Faith and Other F Words.
Yes.
I did such a good job closing this podcast out. I'm really proud of myself.
You
Is that a
did.
good
You
conclusion?
you
All
did
right.
so good.
Yay! Thank you so much for the time tonight. I had a good time.
Me too. Thanks for having me.
Okay, thank you
Oh
so
wait,
much.
can we take a picture?
Oh
Wait,
gosh.
just smile. I'll take a screenshot. Okay, ready?
Okay, bye. Hey, thanks for checking this shit show out. If you have an idea you'd like to be featured here, my email is ellaurbellapodcast@gmail.com. Thank you.